950. Real Texas, Real Talk. KPRC Houston, an iHeart radio station.
All right, so I filled up this weekend, but then I paid $3.65 a gallon for gasoline. And you know the price got really bad if all of a sudden you're looking at the pump and you go, hey, $3.65. Not bad. Well, a year ago, it was significantly less than that. Now, it may have fallen off around here about $1 off of the high point, but it's still a lot more expensive than it was a year ago and a year before that. Join us to talk about it, one of our oil and gas experts, Jay Young. Hey, Jay.
Hey, what's going on? How we doing?
I'm doing fine. Hope you are. I only know two things that really impact the price of gasoline, and that's supply and demand. I haven't heard anything about the supply going up, so can I assume demand has gone down?
Exactly. Right now, with what's going on with the coronavirus, the recession, just a lot of different things that are happening. We're seeing demand. People aren't driving as much as they normally would during this time because they don't want to pay the higher prices. So, and I feel good because I filled my lawnmower up this weekend. So my lawnmower's filled up with some cheaper gasoline, and man, and hey, everything's looking good. But you know what? When it comes around in 2-3 months, and when everything comes back, and we don't have that supply that we need, and all of a sudden we're going to be looking at higher gas prices in the future, which is kind of a catch-22 in Houston, kind of like Dallas. I mean, we like to see higher prices because that means more jobs. We also don't like to pay it at the pump. So, but I do believe we are going to have some higher prices. We are going to see some higher prices, and if we do see higher prices, it's not good for the person that has zero to do with the oil and gas industry.
I'm sure you took note. I'm going to say, I'm sure you took note like everybody else did that, that the president was blaming big oil. First, he blamed, of course, Putin and Russia, and then he blamed big oil, and then he got all the way down to blaming the service stations for charging too much. And then when the price started to go down, he took credit.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, he's draining the strategic reserves, and we're going to have to put that. We're going to put that oil back at some point. Okay, so don't think that just because we bought it and wheeled it up at $20-30 a barrel, that's how we filled up our strategic reserves. But now we're using all of it. We're going to have to put it back, and we're going to put it back at higher prices. But I mean, he's not going to. He'll kick that can down the road until the next administration probably, and he won't have to spend as much money trying to put that oil back because we've got to have that oil in reserve. I mean, it's not like we have it just for a rainy day or for something that's going to happen in the future that we just have it. We have it because we want to make sure that we have it just in case we go to war or we can't get any exports. So we've got to replace it. When we do replace it at higher prices, that's going to put us in more of a deficit. But that's not the big item. I mean, you still have private equity companies. Look at this, private equity companies that aren't coming back, number one. Number two, you have the federal government, the state governments that are slowing us down. But you also have public companies that aren't coming back. Look at this, $51 billion. There's like 3 or 4 companies on the second quarter made $51 billion. Exxon makes $18 billion. And guess how they increased their rig count? 0. Exxon's not increasing their rig count. They should be increasing their rig count substantially so we can meet our need. We need the supply. We need to meet our demand. We're not doing that. Exxon makes $18 billion the second quarter. They made $5 billion or $6 billion in the first quarter, and they spent $9 billion buying back their stock because of all the people that are on their boards right now that are saying we don't care about making money in the oil and gas business. We're already making enough money. Let's don't increase our rig count to increase our supply because our demand's going to go up. They're not doing that, and that's not good for the price going forward in the next year, 2 years, or 3 years. That's not good.
Don't you think that's got a lot to do, though, with this administration? This administration has made it very clear they don't like oil. They don't like gas. They're going to do everything they can to try to prevent these companies from going after this stuff. Why would you increase your rig count when you've got a president who's trying to put you out of business?
Oh, exactly. Absolutely. And you don't want to do that. You definitely don't want to do that. You don't want to do something that the government doesn't want you to do. And all the people that are on their boards now that are green, they're not green, literally green, but they are green in the sense of we don't want oil and gas and we want to cut back. And I've talked to several people in public companies, and they're like, man, we fight every day about rig count and thinking that the economics work out so well at these higher prices. And they're not, it's like, well, okay, hey, this is great that we have higher prices. Let's increase our rig count. And then the public companies or the shareholders and people on the boards say no. That's why Harold Hamm in Houston, Continental Resources, he's saying the same thing. We don't want to increase our rig count. And he's like, man, I want to increase the rig count. I'm in the oil and gas business. Man, you make hay while the sun shines. You don't want to sit here and not increase your rig count. You want to increase your rig count. So that's something that he is really fighting, and he's buying back all the shareholders and trying to not go public because he doesn't want that fight all the time in increasing rig count. So yeah, we need rigs, we need oil, and we need it in a worse way because we don't want to continue paying this. And you're right. I've got on my LinkedIn, Jay Young King Operating LinkedIn page about Ted Cruz saying, hey, this is drill baby drill, $2 gasoline. This is a year after Biden, 2 years after Biden, and you're looking at paying double, almost triple in some places in some parts of the country for gasoline, all because of his philosophy of what do you call no drill baby drill, or no, I don't know how you say that. What Jimmy, we need to come out with a good saying here about the no baby drill or something. Instead of drill baby drill, we need a negative connotation of that somehow.
No baby no, I guess, is what comes to mind. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this too, Jay, about borrowing money, because that's been difficult to do too. A lot of banks has systematically been denying credit to oil operators because they don't want to finance the operation, the oil operation. They don't want to finance it. These green woke bankers don't want to be involved in it anymore either. Right,
exactly. Yeah, it's been tough out here to try to find a good bank situation or a company that will, because you're right. I mean, it's like, price of real estate. If you have 30% down on a real estate let's say an apartment complex, a commercial building, or even your house, if you have 30% equity in your house, you put 30% down, and your price of your real estate, chances are it's not going to go from $100,000 past $70,000 or 60-50. It's not going to go in that much of a variance or cycle. But in oil and gas, you may see $100 a barrel. Well, my goodness, man, they're like, okay, let's make sure that we don't hurt ourselves, and because prices could go to, I don't say they could, minus 37 again, or $20, $30, $40 a barrel. The swings are just so great in oil and gas that you've got to make sure you protect yourself. We do that with hedging. We do that with our production and our different funds. As I mentioned in my book, Upside of Oil and Gas Investing, that I wrote. But it's the banks and the private equity companies got killed, back in the day when they were 2014, 15, $100 a barrel under Obama, and all of a sudden Trump comes in and drops the price. They're held with a lot of G&A. They've got to, have money for revenue for employment, number one. And number two, they've got to have money for drilling. Well, if they don't have either one, they're just kind of a sinking ship. And the banks are out there trying to hold on, and nobody's buying or selling any assets. So it's a really, really tough business. It's hard to figure out on the scale of our investments. And we put $8-10 million drilling one well. We're drilling 14 wells between now and the end of the year. How do you make it to where you have a good mix of equity with credit? We do. we use equity from investors and myself that I have a lot of money invested in these programs, but we also use bank debt because there's bank debt, which is easier to get with energy companies because they won't loan you as much money as some of these other companies that try to deploy capital into some of these oil and gas companies, and they over leverage themselves. So it is the best. That's why we love banks. I love equity from investors and myself, and I love banks because they don't let you go out there and go crazy. They'll loan me. The banks will loan me $15 million, $18 million right now, which is great. But other institutions will loan you a lot more money, 30 or 40 million. Well, why? Because they if you trip, number one, they get the asset. This is not good for us, but number one. But number two is they want to deploy that capital in these funds. Well, it's not healthy, and I think a lot of companies really see that now compared to what it was before.
All right, hey Jay, before I let you go here, give me a prediction. What do you think is going to happen with oil and gas prices in the near term between now and the end of the year?
Well, I think you're going to see us. We are coming back. I think the demand's coming. I think it's 80 to 120. I think you if it goes down now, it's going to go down to 80. It's going to go back to 120. I don't think we're out of it yet, but I think the challenge, or I think the bottom, is we're going to see a downside of 80, and I think we're in the 80 to 120 range. I don't think it's going to go below 80. I don't think it's going to go. It could go higher than 120 if some things. A 10% chance says it goes higher than 120, but I still see us in this range, which is healthy for oil and gas companies.
Okay,
we've got to be healthy for oil and gas companies.
Always a pleasure, sir. Thank you so much for your time today.
Hey, call me anytime. Thank you, Jimmy.
You bet.
Have a great time in Houston.
Thank you, sir. We'll do our best. Keep at it, my friend. Jay Young, oil and gas expert. Again, he wrote a book called The Upside of Oil and Gas Investing. He's also at kingoperating.com.